Welcome to the Unwind Online podcast. I'm Tiz,
My name is Shakey. Welcome to episode 6.
and to,
Tiz, control yourself. It's quite late where Tiz is. It's quite late, so there's going to be this. Anyway,
I
what are
was
we talking
I
about
was
today?
actually in bed, like almost asleep. I was reading a book, waiting for Shaky to do this podcast because I'm actually an hour ahead for once, and I don't like this. I'm an early morning person, so we're gonna see how this episode goes.
Now
It's
you know what
like
it feels
it's
like.
almost 11
Now you know.
p.m. Even though you usually record this at like it's usually like
Midnight or
what,
something
midnight
my
for
time.
you?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fun.
Just you got this. Crack on. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Today we're gonna be talking about comparison. And specifically, I think it shows up for us a lot in streaming and content creation, but I think we also want to talk about kind of how it affects a lot of people with even like scrolling on social media or uh, my brain only kind of works right now, so just
Yeah,
comparison
no, no,
things.
comparison in any, I think in any career or in a lot of different in a lot of different
I
situations,
guess that's
and
true. I guess it shows up
realistically
there.
how. Yeah, but how it's also been definitely because we can see everyone doing everything around the world now. The comparison is there all the time, and people are going to put social stuff out there and be like, "Look what I've just done," in a non-braggy but braggy way, and then
I
you're
feel
like,
like that's
"Why aren't I
actually
doing that?"
a really good point that like
Yeah,
comparison I don't think was ever really a thing. Even like growing up, I mean obviously in like high school when you have your peers around you, there's that comparison that pops
yeah.
up, but like the online world has made it amplified by
Basically, the in-
5,000%.
the internet is not a good place, and we should just delete everything. We should just delete the internet, and then we wouldn't compare ourselves to the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, okay, podcast over. Perfect. We solved it.
See you later, guys. Thanks very much. This was a dream.
Delete the internet. Well, okay, but
That's
it
it.
brings a
Simple.
lot of good things because obviously, I mean, we're here and we have our entire jobs and lives online, but there are definitely
Yeah.
some of the things that can be. I think comparison can both be a good thing in some ways and a bad thing in others, and so I think we're going to talk a lot about all the different ways that I think that could show up for people. So I guess I don't know. Where do you want to start with that?
Well, I mean, yeah, let's just go. We'll go straight into it with the whole comparison thing, and where is I think in most in any kind of job, not just on Twitch, there's always going to be. I don't want to call it competition, but there's other people doing the same thing as you, and you do want to be good at what you do, and you do want to be successful, and with that you can start to compare yourself to others, and that's I think it's a normal human thing. I don't think it's some people are more competitive than others, but I think comparison can be used in a good way. Comparison is you shouldn't like don't use it as a like a, I'm failing or an intimidation, but more of a drive and an inspiration and to do a bit more or do something different or step outside your comfort zone, try something else, or just I think comparison can be a healthy balance. You need a balance. If you compare too much, you can tip and you can spiral and you can be like, I'm rubbish. I
Yeah.
suck at life. Whereas it can go, yeah, it can go either way. But I think there's always going to be comparison, and you just have to accept that that
Well,
is
and
there.
that's I think one of the things. I have like six thoughts all going on at the same time. So I'm not
Six.
really sure.
We're just writing
Six.
down.
Six of them. Well, I think
Number
well,
one,
because
I'm tired. Number two, I should
I'm
have got a drink before I started
thirsty.
the
I needed
podcast.
water. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Okay,
no,
so we
no.
got two of
So
them. Right, what's the other four?
comparison. Well, I was kind of trying to think of trying to like define a little bit what we mean by comparison and then
Hmm.
kind of getting into like what that like fully entails, right? Like I don't know, at least like what that looks like for us and then how that impacts the things that we do. And then I think that what you were saying was also a really good point. So it's kind of like that line between what is good comparison, like things I have a couple little notes, but like things that the difference between inspiration and intimidation, like sometimes I think you can be
Yeah.
inspired by this kind of context, but sometimes it can also
I
be
think the word
a lot. So,
I think the word I was thinking actually instead of using good and bad should be healthy and unhealthy.
yeah.
Because healthy comparison and healthy inspiration
Yeah,
is
yeah.
okay, that drives me to do more. I can do this. They're amazing. I got to think of my own way to be amazing. Unhealthy is like, oh, why can't I be doing what they're doing? Why don't I have what they have? Why aren't I in their shoes?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it can spiral into intimidation and jealousy and etc. etc.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I guess like for me, I was just trying to think of like what comparison, like how that truly shows up in both content creation or the life or whatever. And like for me, a lot of comparison is if you're scrolling, it's looking at what you are doing and then how that like matches up to somebody else, like whether it's their content, whether it's their numbers, whether it's like I think there's a lot of different areas in which one can compare. It's like
Yeah.
I was kind of trying to think of like all of the ways in which, and I don't know if you have different ones than I do, but like for me, especially like as a female online, I think there's always like a body image comparison that happens. So there's like
Right.
what people look like, what like as a streamer, it's like what cosplays, like what are people dressing up as. There's a lot of like the way stream looks, and then like visually comparison, like even stream layouts, like what their overlay looks like,
Yeah.
what this looks like,
I think we've spoken about that before, haven't we? Yeah.
yeah, so like there's that kind of stuff. I think there's comparison in I actually was talking about this on stream the other day where like I don't think of it as necessarily a negative thing, but there's sometimes I compare even like this personality thing where I'm like, well, there's people that are, they're more funny than I am, or they're more like goofy and entertaining. And like in some ways, I think that's kind of helped me figure out what I am, and that like that doesn't mean that my content, like somebody can be something different than mine. And I think that's where comparison can be a healthy thing, is that you're like, oh, this person is really funny and I'm more of like a cozy streamer, and that's one is not necessarily worse than the other. But I don't know, those
Yeah.
are kind of the
Agreed.
ways that I think that I as a streamer compare with other people. And I don't know if that's kind of the same for you, or if when you think of comparison, if or when you see it, or when that happens to you, if that looks different. If that makes sense.
No, ultimately, I think when you start to compare yourself, and then you're like, oh, they're doing that. You then start to look inwards on yourself, and like you just said, you like, if it's down to looks or in terms of how funny my stream is, or
Well,
does my
what
stream
what
look as professional as
specifically do
theirs,
you
and
do?
what do I do? What do
Yeah.
you mean? What do I do?
So like for me, like I said, it was like it's visually like I compare like looks and what I'm wearing and like what my stream looks like.
Right.
And so
Okay.
like if
Yeah.
you have specifics, because I'm
Fine.
just interested if
So
those are different,
I guess yeah. One of them is the way the stream looks and how smoothly it operates.
like
And
video quality and
how the
everything. You
transit.
mean?
Yeah, but also the transitions and other things on stream, and also the things like the stream background. Like I'm very envious of other people's stream rooms because I'm in a corner of a living room, and a lot of
Which you
streamers I
can't
know
even
who are
tell.
like, but I like just there. There's a full
Yeah.
living room there, but like I'm very envious in the night in a good way in the fact that I'm like that's so cool that setup.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I really want to have a setup like you. So then I start to doubt that, but then I'm like, oh, I don't think people are coming in just for that. I think people are coming in for the whole stream experience.
yeah.
And then I'm like, am I being funny enough? Am I entertaining? Am I boring people when if I'm on a serious bit of a game and I'm locked in? I'm not looking at chat? Is that boring, or do people like that? And so yeah, I definitely think it's for a lot of streamers. You start to look at what you're doing, and is it, and then you. But I think in the early days of Twitch, you're like, I think a lot of people start to try and mirror what they see in bigger streamers or try and do similar type of things. When you've been on Twitch for a while and you start to settle into your kind of corner of the platform, then you start to just be like, okay, well, this is my vibe, that's
Yeah, yeah.
their vibe, and I say this to my community all the time, and I say it to the viewers all the time, and the people who start streaming. People don't want the same type of stream 10 times in a row when they're on Twitch on the day.
Yeah.
They will want to they will want a more relaxed vibe, they'll want a chill vibe, they'll want an energetic vibe, they'll want a goofy vibe. They'll want different things. So there's no point in us trying to be the same. The thing that makes it exciting for Twitch is like it's like switching a TV channel. You don't
Yeah.
always want to watch the same program. That's the big thing. I always say that to people. Think of a TV, you're not always going to watch the same thing. You channel hop, don't you? Until you find something that you're in the mood for. If you're having a bit of a low energy day, you might want something a bit more relaxed. If you're having a stupid day, a goofy day, you might come to this clown and he'll make a fool of himself by dressing up in giant orange spandex and putting mud masks on his face and everything. But I think it's normal. I don't think it's. I think you do. But the problem is, I think social media and scrolling is very good for our inspiration, but also very. It can be very impactful on us having a if we've had a bad day and we look at someone's streams and their stream setup looks awesome and we're like ours looks shit, or like I'm not looking the greatest today, or I don't feel it, even though my chat have said like you look great. And then you scroll, and sometimes I'll come off stream and I'll sit there for half an hour scrolling, like, and then I'll look at the time and I'll be like, I've done nothing for the last half an hour. And I don't even think sometimes I don't even think your brain is braining, is it really? It's just kind of you're on autopilot a bit. So yeah, I think that's kind of like
I'm kind of just laughing because I asked you like a very
I'm,
specific question and you
I know,
answered it
I'm
a
like
little bit and then was like, whoo. I'm like, oh,
I have a lot
Shaky.
to say. I have a lot to say on the topic, but yes, I there's certain things I compare. Stream quality, stream setup.
Okay.
Mhm. Less
Well,
about the looks.
because I was interested if that was more a female thing or if that also is something that affects you
Don't get me
also.
wrong. I don't want to turn up to stream looking like I've just woken up and I look grubby. I never want to do that.
Well, I mean,
But
kind of.
like I'm at the I'm people know my streams as he's a bit of a goofball. He pulls
Yeah.
stupid faces as much as he can. He makes noises. He dresses up in weird outfits. So I kind of just I roll with it. But I've been doing that since school though.
Yeah. Well, and
'Cause
I wonder if,
if I couldn't be the attractive guy, I'd try and be the funny guy. It's as simple as that. People
well,
love a funny guy.
I kind of was thinking too, like, I wonder, because you just mentioned that you've been doing that since school, right? Like, if
Hmm.
what we compare changes, like, if, like, if, because I definitely found that when I first started streaming, a lot of what I was comparing myself to were people in the same kind of like range of streaming. Like it was like, oh, like I had two average viewers, right? And I'm like comparing myself to other streamers that have like 5 or 10 viewers, and I'm like, oh my God, how do they have 10 people? And it's like comparing to that. And then, so I think there is like kind of, I don't know if that's the same with you. I feel like I compare people that are in a similar boat. Like I try not to
100%.
even like look at like like people that are like
110.
so
1000%.
far like just like streamers that have been streaming for ages and stuff. I'm like I don't even know if I like look at that, but it's definitely for me. I feel like it's typically people that feel like we're in like the same kind of community or same vibes, or like it's like similar but different. So like I always find
Yeah.
like I'm almost like comparing this, and this sounds horrible, but I'm like, oh, here's this person that's similar to me, but they're better. And why are they better? Is what my brain always does to me.
But you do though. You do. I do the same as well. And it you have nothing but love for these streamers because they are great and you are
Oh,
at the kind of
totally.
the same level as them. But it's if you've had a really quiet stream and they've had a good stream on a day and you're like, I'm really pleased for them, but I'm really worried if am I is this me starting to fall back now? Am I failing? Am I keeping up with their like we were equal levels for the last year or two, and now all of a sudden this month I've like dropped by 5 viewers. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what have I done? Have I
I
said
think,
something?
well, and
Is
I
it the way
think
I
that's
look?
like the
Yeah,
really negative kind of insidious side of it is like, I always want to support and help other creators, but that's like where it can feel really like why am I not doing as good as someone else? I guess I think that like that's where I think it can be a really like where we're talking about the difference between inspiration and like intimidation, I guess, is like a good way of like,
Hmm.
there's the streamers that you can compare. Like if you're all kind of in a similar pool, I always try to find streamers that I'm inspired by a little bit, like people that have a little bit higher numbers than
Absolutely.
me, or people that are a
Yeah.
little bit more successful, and use them as sources of inspiration for like, okay, they're doing really well in their channels. What is it that I can do to improve wherever I am at? And it's not even just with streaming, right? Like I find that in like fitness is a big thing that's important to me too. So like I have
Everything.
certain fitness
Yeah.
creators I follow, and I'll like bookmark certain skills or things that I want to learn because I'm like, okay, they have like learned this skill that's above where I'm at, so like I'm going to use this as inspiration. But I think that on the flip side of that is where like it can turn into like a like that unhealthy, almost like an unhealthy like jealousy or an intimidation of like, why is this
Bitterness.
person,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
better in some ways and stuff, I think. So I don't know how that, like, if
And
you
but
find the
again, that,
same things or if that shows up
yeah,
differently.
no, because and again, that goes back to what I said earlier, is that I think it's I think it's normal to feel that as humans we have a little bit of that built into us. If it's a job, for instance, and you've both been at the job at the same time, and then someone gets put on a training course or someone gets asked to do something by the manager and you haven't been, it's like, what have I done? Or like, have I not done any? Have I not? Am I not as skilled as that person? Or in sport, like they're being picked in the team first, or they're a bit their fitness level's a bit better than mine, or they're able to
Yeah.
kick a ball a bit better than me. It's like you start to question everything, and you're like, this. So again, it's the
This
whole
is,
thing. Comparison and competition is good,
yeah.
but again, it can
It's
turn
good
sour
up
quite
into a
quickly.
certain level. Well, and
Yeah.
it's interesting even talking about this like this, right? Is because like it's one of those topics that I do find like as I'm talking about it, right? Like I feel very uncomfortable talking about it in some ways too, because I'm like, oh, this is stuff that I don't feel like I should be admitting. But like I do think it
Hmm.
is
That's what this is
is
here for, I
I'm
think.
always like, is it just my neurospicy brain that's like being that feels and thinks this way, or is it something that
No,
everybody's thinking? But
I don't think it's
because
neurospicy.
I think sometimes it's we always want to put our best foot forward, right? So we
We
don't
do.
want to like obviously we don't want to show up as negative or be like, oh, we don't we're just comparing ourselves all of the time.
And
But I
do you
yeah.
know what? Like we mentioned earlier about the whole thing about trying to be the funny guy in school because I wasn't the biggest or the strongest. We get older by age and we mature, but some of the anxieties are still inside us, and some of the
Yeah.
what we feared as in our younger years is still hidden down in there. So if you're not picked for the sports team, or that person wanted to go and hang out with that person, or go ask that person out on a date, but not you, like you're like, why? What have I done? I need to be better. I need to get better
Yeah.
so that I can live the life they're living or have the success they're having.
And that is
And
where
I don't think that I don't think
trauma.
that I don't think it ever really leaves you. I think there's always there's always the little kid inside of us that still has
Well,
those
I
anxieties.
do I think that's a really good point, but I do think that sometimes it can leave you. I
I
do
think you're
think
better at
I think
handling it.
I think it comes up in a lot of different ways, right? But I think that you can kind of like heal that little kid. I actually somebody just sent me a video the other day too, or Nande, so just sent me this thing about like how relationships are a lot about almost like healing each other's inner child. So like, something will happen and it's about being like, hey, like how can I help and support you? And then something will happen to them and then it's you're helping each other. Like the best kinds of relationships are helping each other to heal those little things. And I think where fights and things
Absolutely.
happen is when instead of trying to help heal that, you're butting heads or creating more, you're like feeding into that like trauma cycle. And so I think with comparison and how that all lends up is that like if you notice, and I guess that's something that we can start to get into after we talk about this a little bit more, which I have some notes for, and we have some other things are like tips and tricks on how to
Ooh.
deal with that and how to like change it, because I do think that it's something that, as with most things in mindset and life, that with practice you can get better at, either not comparing as much or healing the little things inside of you that do get anxiety and get upset when those things happen.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I don't know if we have more to talk about that before we jump into like tips and tricks and things, but like I don't know. That was just something that I was like, yeah. It's
Yeah, it is as we go through life, because we've experienced more situations that have been setbacks compared to when we were a kid. You get used to handling it, you get a thicker skin, you deal with it, and you're like, well, that's it. Like if for instance, when I'm in a and I think that's like you say, it's good what you mentioned with relationships with our partners, also as friendships like that you have with streamers and like me and you have, is sometimes it's just about one of you sharing your anxiety or
yeah.
something that's happened, and then the other one helping heal that person. Like in the past when you've done with me, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe this has happened, blah blah blah, and then you're like, yeah, well, but that's not always going to be the case, and also, what you going to do? And I'm like, yeah, I can't do anything really about it, can I? I'm just gonna accept it. Life goes on.
Aggressively eat your rice cakes. It's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go raid the pantry for something. But yeah. I think you just become better equipped as you get older. So
Yeah.
when kids have a freak out or teenagers, 20, 30 years down the line, you're like, yeah, first time, yeah, been there, done that. Shit, isn't it?
Do
Deal with it.
you this is maybe unrelated, but you just mentioned like kids and teenagers and all of that. But and as a parent, do you notice that like things like comparison, how would you parent that? Or like how would you does that make sense? Like if one of
Yeah.
your kids were to come up to you to be like, "Oh, like this so and so at school," would you
Yeah.
like as a
Already.
parent, do you know how
Yeah.
like you would
100%.
because maybe what you would do to
100,
them is what we should be telling ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, so I've got a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're both getting a year older in July. So one's going to be 11, one's going to be 3.
Wait, they're going to
The
be a year
3-year-old is
older?
more of, yeah.
Yeah, every year they get a year. Wow,
You
crazy.
know what? I think I actually prefer like US tis rather than Italian tis.
Listen, it's the middle of the night and I am tired.
She's doing that as well. She's doing
Oh
that.
my god, I've been like all week.
Get out of the way.
Did you know that apparently when you talk, there's all like this like means it's something good. Like there's actually like Italian sign language that goes. I didn't even realize. Like
Oh
it's
yeah, there's a whole thing around it. Yeah.
anyway. What you were saying about
So
your
so my
year
youngest is very
older
much just
children.
kind of like my youngest is just like pushing the boundaries so that I can't have conversations with him because he doesn't he just looks at me and smiles and then does the same thing. My 10-year-old is he's just done a week of exams. He's in his final year of what you would class as elementary school and what we say is primary school.
Okay.
So he's got about 2 months left of that. Then he goes up. Then he's up in high school. He's up in secondary. So that's a big, as we all know,
I was
that's
gonna
a
say
big step.
well, in high school and middle school and
That's a
well, it's
massive
middle school
thing.
and high school for me.
So there's already,
It's a
so there's
big thing.
already, there's already that playground drama's happening. There's the girls, there's the boys, there's the sporty boys, there's the smart boys. He's the book smart, like he's a book smart kid. He does like his sports, but he's one of the smaller ones. But he's super sharp. And he comes to me because he comes to his parents and he's like, oh, they've said this or done this or X, Y, Z and that. And I just say to him like, I do say to him, you have to remember that this has what that person says will have no impact on your life and how well you succeed in life, and what you do and what you're passionate about can never be stopped by anyone who is trying to put seeds of doubt in your mind. And I say to him, it's difficult because I think at that age they're all trying to fit in. There's almost that fitting
Yeah.
in, isn't there? Whereas when we get to our 30s, especially, we don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. That's the favorite thing about 30s. But when you're in your early, when you're coming out of going into high school and you're a teenager
20s
as
are
well,
rough too.
you want to fit in. Yeah, even in 20s, you
Oh,
want to
wait, I
feel
think
like you're
it
part of
changes.
something.
Like your high school is like you just want people to like you. Like you're like you just want to fit
Hmm.
in. Your 20s are like you want to figure out where you fit in the world. Like you're kind of like I want to find a job, but I want to like. And then your 30s, you're like, oh, I'm never gonna have it figured out. Oh well, it doesn't matter anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But
It does. You give you give less of a fuck as you get older, and I think that's a general rule of thumb.
yeah,
But yeah, I do talk to him about these things. They are quite deep conversations because he does think a lot and he gets worried and stressed, and we tell him not to, because ultimately,
always easier
I
said than
said to
done.
him, well, no, but like at that age, yeah, but like 10, 15 years, I said to him, I don't even really keep in contact with anyone from school,
Yeah,
and then it's not going to have an impact. But you can't see that when you're at school because school is your whole world.
yeah.
And you think these people that you're growing up around, you think that's going to be the people in your life, all of them, when
I
they're
mean,
all probably going to go
that's
their own
actually a
separate
good point
paths.
too of like I think why we compare so much like on Twitch as a platform is like that is very much like the world that we are in, and so when you are surrounded with this bubble, it's so hard not to compare yourself with the other things that you see in your everyday, like you're like this is my place, and it's hard not to want to like fit in. And I think that's a big part. I think that's probably where a lot of comparison comes from, right? Is like wanting to be liked and be like other people. And so you kind of like gather all this information from people around you and you're like,
Hmm.
how can I how can I assimilate better?
The problem is Twitch is not great for not making you feel like you have to compare yourselves and be. It's like, here's suggested channels you should raid. This is what you should be doing. Have you tried these people? Why don't you do what your other streamers are doing
Yeah.
and do this? Or they throw stuff at you and they say stream more, or do these things, incentivize things. Twitch is not great, and I think they know that they're not great for that kind of,
Yeah.
don't compare yourself to it. Yeah. So but yeah, it goes back to school, and yeah, my eldest definitely thinks about this sort of stuff. I've told him not to worry about it. I usually then try and take his mind off it by same thing, sort of thing you might have done with me in the past, where it's like, we'll talk about something else, or
Yeah.
focus on the good things. There's one thing that you've sometimes said to me in the past is, you've said, tell me about something good that's happened. Tell me about the positives that's going on in your world right now. Stop focusing on the one or two things that are negative that could be out of your control. Start looking at the wins you're having in life.
Yeah.
He was beating himself up for my kid was beating himself up because he got 39 out of 40 on a maths test, which was one of the highest in the class. But because he was like, I know where I made a mistake. I was like, but you got 39 out of 40. I said, do you
Yeah.
know how many of those children would love to even get anywhere near that? But they the way their brain works, they cannot process the way you do. But he's it's almost that
It's
perfectionism,
all, yeah, it's that
and it,
thinking of
and
that
it's
one thing
and
that
it's
you
and,
didn't do
and it's
right.
trying to strip away the layers of perfectionism that we probably all of us have got. Some of us, well, I know we do, but like, it's that little
Yeah,
perfectionism of
we
like,
definitely do.
that's not right. Like
Yeah.
that overlay should be down there and there. Why is it not there? What are people going to think to that? Oh my God, this guy's an unprofessional streamer. When no one's thinking that.
Yeah. I think that's another
Chipping
thing
chip,
too is like
chipping perfectionism away and being real. Being real life is flawed, and humans are humans.
it's always interesting to talk about these things too, to like wonder if other people have these kind of thoughts, and that also like the varying degrees, and like you said that there are things that I don't think that other people notice, but that we would like obsess about, right? And I always think it's kind of
100%.
that thing
Yeah.
that like we're always harder on ourselves than other people. I think 9 times out
Mm.
of 10 it doesn't quite go with comparison, but it's similar vein that I remember hearing something where it was like if you think that like someone is judging you or something, but they've never said anything, it's all your thoughts that you're putting on someone else. And so I think
Mhm.
it's just like we are constantly feeding into this like, oh, we're not good enough, or like what is other people doing, and like most of the time that's just like all that's it's all in your own head. Most
It
other people
is.
aren't thinking of, we're all just like thinking about it about ourselves, and it's
It's all the things. It's the we're our own worst critics. It's the bad brain days. It's
yeah.
all of it. It's all of us telling ourselves that we're not good enough. When you are good enough, and you should know, and you recognize that you are, because people love coming to hang out with you in the streams, or if you're in a job and you're doing well, you're doing well, or if you're being, whatever is happening, our inner voice is often much worse than the actual truth.
Well, and I think that not good enough thing that we're saying a lot, I think that's where that kind of like the core of comparison kind of comes from, is like that like what the standard of what we think we should be, and then being like either too much or not enough, and then it's like trying to figure out how to to be good enough. And that is always just like, at least that's a big thing. Like even just hearing you talk about like what you're talking to your kid about, that like brings up memories for me of as like growing up as a kid and having like I was actually homeschooled for up until seventh grade. So I like
Oh,
didn't
really?
do the whole.
Mm.
So I got a lot of the like the homeschool jokes as I was growing up, and which I was like, that's just really rude. And then I met a lot of other homeschoolers, and I'm like, okay, I do get where where this comes from, like because
Again,
you know, it's it's tough to not like do the social thing the same way that everyone else does. So like I get that, but like for me being homeschooled, I would have friends that would come home from school and say like, "Oh, you're just learning that now? Like we learned that months ago." Or like, "Oh, you're doing this? Like we did this whenever." So there's like I was constantly comparing what I was learning to other people. And so like even now when like I graduated like cum laude in college, which is like basically like a 4.0, like I had a high GPA. Like even though I did well all throughout school, my entire life has been you're not smart enough, or like you're too stupid, or like, and so like I'm constantly comparing to how I feel like everyone else is better than me kind of thing. That
but I
a
wonder if
lot of
that
times
stems.
comes
I wonder if
from
that
that.
stems back. Yeah,
A lot of
I
that
bet it
comes
does.
from when I was homeschooled and not feeling like I was like learning as much as all the other kids. And so then now just feeling like I'm constantly just not smart enough, which is just like, and the hardest part about that is like logically, like even now I can look and be like, oh, this is probably where this stems from. And I can go, oh, here's all of this like proof that it's not true. And
Mm.
it's still like, you know, like I'm in my 30s and it still pops up regularly. Like I was even like streaming the other day and I was like doing a math thing and I'm like, oh, I'm just so stupid, I can't even do math kind of thing. And people are like, you're
But
doing it just
what did
fine.
I
And I'm
say
like,
earlier?
you know,
What did I say earlier?
yeah,
There's that
but
anxious child still inside of us. It's still there.
yeah.
They're still there, and it still comes up occasionally. We push it back down because we're grown ups and we can do that, and we've got enough
But I
years
don't think
behind us.
that's, but
But
I
it's
don't think we should. I do think that there should be,
not pushing it down as in like
don't
it's
push that
still in my
little
mind,
kid
but
down.
like but just push it out and be like, okay, this is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
You know, this is a
Well,
situation. You know how to deal with it. You're an adult.
but even phrasing it that way, I do think that's what happens a lot of the time, right? Like I do think
Maybe.
that anxiety comes up and we kind of like shove it down and we go like, "Oh, you're fine." That like that's obviously that's dumb. Like you've but I think what happens is we do that so much that we've never actually like if I think about
We
it, it's
become
like I've never
accustomed to it.
actually really dealt with that trauma. Like I've talked about it a little bit and like yeah, I can acknowledge that, but also it still pops up. It still happens. So it's like I don't know if that just needs to be a lot of years of therapy or, but like, I do
Or
think we
just
do
talking
tend
it,
to,
talking it.
yeah, yeah. I do think we tend to, as human beings in general, and I do think that's something that, I don't know if you as a male experience this more, because I do think female, we tend to talk about these things a little bit more, but this like shove it down mentality of like, oh, if something comes up, if I start comparing or something, I'm just going to ignore it and just hope it goes away. And it usually doesn't, unfortunately.
I've been more open about it in my 30s than I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Because it got to a point where things weren't going well in my 20s, and I became quite unwell because of stress levels and anxiety levels, and my body actually started to be impacted and start to be, you know, my immune system went down, everything, because I thought everything's fine, push it down, this is normal. You're a bloke, deal with it, get on with it. And this,
Yeah.
we're not going to go into a whole off peak of what happens to men and how
I was gonna say
the things
that
that
could
can
be a
happen to
whole
men.
different podcast episode.
That could be a whole thing about guys speaking and the danger of not speaking as a guy. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the whole Western world pretty much knows that now, unfortunately. But I've been a
Yeah.
lot better in my 30s. I think, again, I also think it is having the right people around you, and having a partner is a good thing as well. Because when you are on your own, it can you haven't got anyone to soundboard off of.
Yeah. I think, yeah,
So you
it's
sit
like
and
being able to have
you're
somebody to be
bouncing
like,
against a screen or a wall. Yeah.
yeah, to have somebody like, to be like, oh my God, here's all these thoughts. And they're like, okay, it's okay. That's
Yeah.
just the,
Yeah.
the, the crazy brain just going, blah, blah,
It's
blah,
like
blah.
what I would say to you is like you should know from the successes you've had from graduating and from your experiences in life and your travels and your jobs and where you are now as a streamer that you are enough and you are better than you think you are and you are incredibly smart. But you won't think that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that. How much you listen to is up to you. That's or how
Ah,
much of
la,
it
la, la,
goes
la,
in.
la, la, la.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes that's the hard part as well is hearing it and
Yeah.
keep and allowing it to settle in. It's hard. It is
Yep.
hard. Again, it's yep, yep. So I think when it comes to comparison, going back to comparison, it needs to be a healthy balance, but also it needs to be making sure that you're talking to people. You have to be talking
Yeah.
because else you're just going to look at things online. You're going to think, why am I not doing that? I need to improve that. Then you're going to get mad if you can't perform or do the same thing on stream that they're doing when you shouldn't be doing that anyway because you shouldn't be trying to mirror someone else's content. But you're going to, because you've got no one to talk to about it, you're like, well, I guess I'm just rubbish. I guess I'm crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't be there. When it's not the case, it's not the case. But you need someone to tell you that. You need another voice to tell you because your voice won't go anywhere with yourself.
Yeah, it was, well, so I was saying that I have my like notes of like tips and things to help with
Mm.
comparison. Number 5 is talking about it out loud. And it says,
Yep.
like having like real life conversations, which this is what we're doing right now on the
I think
podcast.
as well, just
But,
just
like,
on that note, whilst we're
yeah,
talking,
yeah.
when Tiz is back from her travels, and we're setting into a certain podcast routine, and when we do get guests on, um, I think it's going to be good for people to, if people do have questions when they come on the podcast and they're our guest, if they say like, what do you do when you're having a shit day or you've come off stream and you're not happy with it or whatever it might be, I think it's a good talking point. So if you are watching this, because I know there's people watching this because you've come into my stream and told me just finished watching it, or I've been in your streams and you said it's amazing, and
Or
thank you
listening
so
to it,
much.
because
But
eventually we need to
when
actually turn this
you
into a podcast.
when you come on our stream, on our podcast, not stream, when you come on our podcast, just be honest with us. Just be honest.
Yeah.
Just be open. Obviously, don't be like, I hate that streamer. God, can you believe it?
I mean, I
'Cause
hate this shaky
that's not.
Jakey just so, ugh, all the time. But,
So
like,
let me tell you the problem with Shakey. Hey, I'm right here. Yeah, I don't like you.
yeah.
But no, I want streamers to come to us, or not streamers, I just want people to come and talk to us and be like,
Well, I mean, and,
here's
and
where I
then
feel
that
I'm
is the
failing.
epitome of what we're trying to do, which, like, I do
Yep.
feel like in my head, I'm already being like, I'm oversharing, I'm talking too much about these things, but like, also I
But you're
think,
not though. You're
but that's
not.
kind of the point. Like, that's what I think we want from this is like having these real conversations, even if they might
But
feel
also,
a little bit difficult.
you're online how many hours a week in front of the camera it is?
Well, lately, not at all, because I'm in Italy.
Not at all, but like in a normal time, you're usually streaming 4 days a week. You've got to be on camera for at least 20,
I
25
mean, I
hours a
stream
week.
like over. I'm not. I'm streaming a little bit less, but usually 100 to 200 hours a month, I think.
100 to 200 hours a month. You think that there's going to be points where you share stuff that you haven't even realized that you've shared. That's one thing about being a streamer or being a content creator is that the world knows you a lot more
Sometimes
than they
there's
would
things that you
a
say
person
that you
walking down
just
the street.
wish you could just. But
Look at
unfortunately,
look at the fucking clip I made with the finger. Jesus,
I actually still
that was
haven't seen the
terrible.
clip. But okay, wait. But anyway, going back.
Anyway, go back to your points. Yeah, yeah, go to your points. Hmm.
One of the tips is talking about it out loud and talking about comparison with other streamers and like really trying to and that's what we're doing with both the podcast as well as like normalizing these struggles that we have and seeing if other people have them, and then also I think that helps to like bring clarity with that, to like, if we talk about it and we know that other people feel the same way, then it's like it makes you feel less alone, and then you guys can talk about different ways that help you deal with it, and it can improve from there, ideally. And I have more tips, but do you have any?
Go for it. No, let's get some tips. Let's get some tips
Well, I'm
on
just
here for
curious
people.
if off the top of your head, if you're like, "Ooh, here's what I do."
I'll chime in when I'm ready. Go on, go for it. Hit us with another point.
Another tip. Okay. Another one
I was,
is
to be fair, I
a
was mainly I was mainly pretending to be Gambit when you were saying that. So
I could kind of see you out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I'm just gonna ignore. Most of the time, I just have to not look at like what you're doing just to keep my train of thought. Otherwise, I'm like, it's just, yeah, it's that. Anyway,
we were talking about you on the streams the other day. We were talking.
who me?
We were me and one of your community members. Yeah,
About what?
about the face warp that we both have on our
Oh,
streams.
why? About how you're ridiculous with it, and I'm always just like,
No, no, no. What we're saying is because I've always been a bit of a fucking clown and trying to pull the really ridiculous faces, and you've always been much more stoic about it and been like face swap, and people are like, she's starting to occasionally do like a little bit of
now
like
I've just gotten lazy, and
silliness,
I'm just
like
like,
yeah, which is good. So we're breaking Tiz down into a
shit.
goofball.
Well, no, for a while it was like it was fun to like try to not let people get the warp, and now I'm too lazy. It's too much pressure. Anyway,
I
okay.
go the opposite
So
way. I try
tips,
to get the most extreme face that I can.
tips, Mr. Squirrel.
I'm ready. Fire one at me. I'm listening this
One of them
time.
is like
I'm
zooming
paying
out
attention in
with
class.
and so zooming out with like
Zoom,
context
zooming out.
and having like a timeline kind of check in. So looking at like where were you like 6 months ago and what have you learned or created or whatever since then? Because I think comparison, and this is something we didn't really get into, but I actually had a bullet point about this, is like the difference, how comparison shows up differently when you're growing versus if you're like plateaued. And so like at least for me, I know like if I'm doing really well and really successful, then I don't feel like I almost like need to look elsewhere. But like if I feel like I'm like doing poorly, then it's like I'll go to look other places for inspiration. And then that's when like I see if I'm not doing as good, then that's where it can be a negative thing, I guess. I don't know how if you does that is it different for you when you're like growing well versus like if you feel like you're more stagnant with streaming?
100%. I'm going to be brutally honest with you at the moment. I feel
Thank you.
I'm
So
in
you
a bit
need
of
to
a
be world vomiting as much as I have.
I at the moment, as of right now, this month, it's been the month has been great for this whole megathon thing I've been doing. But I feel I'm in a place where I'm a little bit stagnant, and I'm worried. But I tell myself, I keep having to pull myself out of that
Yeah.
day in day out almost at the moment, purely because I had such a good run of. The thing is, this goes back to what we were saying on a podcast. I know I'm in a fortunate position with streaming, and that I do have a good support network on streams. But it's my self criticalness coming in, and because I had a good kind of November to March, and now I'm not seeing the same results in April May.
That's always
I'm
so
feeling it.
hard.
I'm feeling it. And I know I'm
Yeah.
not the only one feeling it. I know there's a couple of streamers I've been speaking to. Again, going back to what you said at that similar level, where you're in that on that team together, that playing field together. You've got similar numbers, and a couple of us are feeling it. And I've seen things coming up on Twitter where some of like the analysts and that are saying Twitch is very hard to stream on at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. I think right now,
Because
especially.
April and May is really tough. I'm struggling, and I've never. It's interesting you say about the zooming out thing because I've never thought about that. I've never thought about kind of stepping back 6 months or a year, and again
Yeah.
putting that comparison as to where was I there, where am I now, what are the successes that I've seen in the last 12 months.
Yeah, and that's what, so it says like, comparison thrives when we ignore our own growth. And so it says making sure that you really celebrate the progress that's easy to forget in the moment.
Mm.
So like, you forget of everything that you've accomplished, and then you're like, well, why am I not doing this? And so what's really important is to really focus on all the things that you have learned, in order to kind of.
Well, that's part of the reason. It's one of two reasons, but it's part of the reason why I'm doing this whole May megathon thing is because I'm like, okay, I know the numbers aren't where I want them to be, or my
And
performance
for
I feel
anybody,
is not where I want it to
hold
be.
on, what for anybody who is not a streamer, a megathon thing, what Shakey's basically doing is he's streaming a lot more often, and so like if
I'm
people,
wearing a mega thong for as long as I can.
yep, never
And
mind,
I ain't
we'll
talking
leave it
about the
at
flip
that.
flops. I'm not talking about the shoes. Because I think the Aussies call them thongs, don't they?
Yeah,
I think they're
yeah,
like the little slider. Anyway, listen, yeah, it's like a big old event that's going across the whole
yeah.
course of May. But I was like, do you know what?
It's an event where people
We just
like gift subs for time and things, so his stream is going on
yeah, yeah,
longer.
yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just in case there's any non-streamers
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
listening,
yeah. It's a marathon. It's a marathon event. But
marathon
it's
of
like,
streaming.
you know what? We've hit 5,000 followers on the stream, which is I ever thought I would get to that ever in my wildest dreams.
Remember when you hit your
I've
first
been
100? Like that blew
yeah.
my mind. I was like,
Even
I
the
have
first 50,
100 people.
even when you got to 50
Yeah,
and you got
50
affiliate and
was
then
crazy.
100 and then you're like, oh my god, and 250, all these ones, these milestones. And again, I think we said this on the last stream or the stream before, celebrate the small
Podcast.
steps, celebrate the little ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Podcast, whatever. um I'm celebrating 5,000 followers. I've been affiliated for 6 years on Twitch. It's a birthday month. There's reasons to be there's I should be not focusing on the one thing and focusing on all the successes that are happening around us. But the problem is in our brains when we get one thing that's bugging us, that takes front and center stage, doesn't it?
Yep. So, focusing on your own growth. Do you want me to go to the
Growth and
second one?
zooming out is a good one. I like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
The second one is auditing your feeds. So, doing
Auditing your
intentional
feeds.
doing intentional unfollows or mutes or whatever it
Interesting.
is, because curating your social media, you want to make sure that it inspires you, not overwhelm you. So so you want to unfollow or mute accounts that spark any sort of insecurity instead of inspiration, at least like temporarily, right? Because your feed should always support your mindset and not sabotage it. And I think that's a big one. Like if you're following creators that every time you see them pop up, you have this like sort of feeling for whatever reason, whether it's like you're just feeling
Hmm.
like you're not good enough or they're so much better than you or whatever it is, mute it or make sure that make sure that that content isn't always being passed through your brain. Like you really want to curate it so that you're following people that bring you that inspiration, not that spark that kind of feeling in you.
It's
Because
really good.
sometimes
I
it's
like
really
that.
irrational too. Like there are some fitness creators, some of them make me feel really inspired and they like do a lot of like tips and workouts. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. I love that. I'm going to save that. So I'm going to try to do it. And other ones just make me go, oh my God, I could never do that. I'm so like, I'm just awful, you know? And those are the ones that I'm like, okay, I should probably unfollow this because, you know,
Mm. I think that's a great idea. Auditing your feed. I like that term as well.
yep,
It's like a
do a
management
feed audit.
of yeah, I do occasionally, but I've never really gone too far into that. But I will mute people if they are not helping my mental
Yeah.
state. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like
The
that.
next one is recentering on your why. So, like, post creation reflection things, like after creating or posting something, asking you, like, did this feel like me? And, like, would I be proud of this even if no one saw it? So, making sure that you're, like, grounding in your own voice helps comparison with other people lose power. Because I do think like that's something that I feel sometimes is like I'll see a lot of people's like TikToks or Instagram things and I'm like, oh, I should make clips that are more like this. Or like I'll see creators that are doing really well, like pumping out a lot of clips, and I'll be like, mine aren't funny enough or visually they don't look good enough. Or and then sometimes I'll try to make content that feels like it's too par with that or like similar, and then it'll be like, well, I don't know, like I didn't enjoy making this content or something. I'm making it because I feel like I should be because that's what other creators are doing, you know?
Yeah.
Do you feel similarly or
Yeah, I do. I do. Again, it's like you said at the start, it's recentering why you're doing this, why again, it's pulling away from the comparisons, pulling away from everything else in the outside world and just focusing back on you
yeah.
and focus on why am I doing this? Why do I love this? Why do I want to do this every week, day in, day out? Because I have a passion for what I want to do. I don't like the games they're playing, but I respect them and I respect the games they want to play. I want to play my games. I want to do this stupid thing on stream. I want to do this form event. This is my brand. It's your own brand. Focus on your brand.
Yeah.
Focus on who you are as an individual. Focus on what makes you unique. I often have to tell myself that.
Yeah.
Why do people come to your streams? Because you're you. You don't need to
Yeah, you don't
perform
want.
like another streamer.
I think, I mean, that, and that's a key. I mean, at some point we might do like a starting streamers for beginner podcast tip thing anyway. And I think one
Yeah.
of them is really finding your niche and finding what you are good at, and not looking only to other streamers and being like, oh, they do this and this and this, and so I want to try to emulate that. It's like, no, what feels good for you to create, and what makes you unique. And I do think that that helps you build as a content creator.
Yep. Absolutely. Because it's finding your niche, your mold on Twitch that separates you from every single streamer. And there's a lot of streamers. There is
Only
a
a couple
hell of a load of
million.
streamers out there. Yeah. But we are all unique. And
Yeah.
that's the reason you follow different. That's the reason you don't just follow one person. No one follows one streamer on Twitch. Everyone follows at least 5, 10 people. 15, 20, 50, 100. I follow a couple of hundred.
I know a couple people that have the max amount of followers, which is like what, like
1,000.
1,500 or something, or like,
I
yeah, it
think
was
it's
like
1,000 or 2,000. And they're like, yeah, Twitch, like, you can't follow anyone else.
they're like, I had to unfollow.
At that point, I question: are you going? Is there a
Do
stream?
you actually
I bet
know
you've not
all
been
your
into half of
streamers?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just
Um,
at the time you might have been like, "I'll give you a follow back because you seem great," and I'm sure I'll definitely, possibly, maybe come back to your
yeah,
stream
for
at
sure.
some point.
I regularly go back through my follow list and be like, do I know all
I
these
do
people?
too.
And if I don't know some,
And
because sometimes I'll follow.
it's no disrespect. It is
No,
no
like
disrespect.
sometimes
It's
I
just
follow
you're
people, but I
almost
don't remember when. Like I don't remember if it was like
yeah.
a raid and I was gonna go check somebody out, or like if it was from an event, or if it was like something and like I just didn't check fast enough, and then my brain forgot, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
You're
so
almost just overloaded with people with like
yeah,
because you're building relationships with people, viewers, and yourself and streamers. And then if you're following 1,000 people, you ain't gonna get around to 1,000 different streams.
definitely, yeah.
It's not gonna happen. No.
So the last tip that I had on here, which I actually really like, is this idea of like turning. It says turn jealousy into data. So like it's a, in quotations, it's a tool that says, what does this tell me I want exercise? So like if someone else's success triggers you, like if you're comparing, say, like a bigger streamer, and try to ask yourself, what is the thing that I admire here? And then also flip it and say, how can I start working towards that in my own way? Because like comparison often actually reveals a desire. So
Hmm.
rather than getting jealous, using that as a compass and not a judgment. So being like, okay, like I'm getting this feeling. Why is it that I admire this? Or like, where does this feeling come from? And how is it that I can try to implement this in my own way?
Exactly.
Try to turn the like negative comparison into a positive thing.
But again, jealousy into data eff- effectively equals inspiration. It's inspiration,
Yeah,
is what it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
We loop back round to inspiration. And the perfect example of this is I, as streamers, the only way we learn how to stream and how to build our streams, minus the tips on YouTube, is watching other streamers. It's watching and is seeing what other streamers do, and then incorporating your own versions and your own ideas, using that same kind of style, that model they have, and making it something of yours.
The
And
yoink and
I've
twist.
had
That's isn't that,
yeah,
I think that's like Ludwig's motto, isn't it? Because they say that like no idea is an original idea at this point, and so
no,
everything is all
no,
just yoink and twist.
no, exactly. And if like for instance, I've got streamers in my community who or in our team or that watch my streams and they'll say to me, they might message me privately, or when I go into their stream, they'll say, I hope you don't mind, but I really liked what you did with that. And I've kind of incorporated this, which is similar but slightly different,
Yeah.
into mine. And I say, why would I why would I have a problem with that? Because if anything, that just feels like it feels I really appreciate that
You're like, you actually
I'm
liked
giving you
something that I had
ideas.
in my stream. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you like that, and I know that you're not trying to take people away from you, and you're not. People will come to my stream for my stuff, and they'll go to yours for yours. But like, if they were like Shaky Jakey C, and they were streaming at the same times as me and playing the same game, so I'm gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? But when they're trying to build their own community and they're finding their fit, and they're like, I really like what you do. I'm going to change this slightly and make it so it suits my style.
The thing that I
Do you
love about
mind? Of
that
course I don't
too,
mind. Of course I don't.
like I there have been times in streaming, especially when I started, where like if somebody copied me, like took like had the exact same overlay, like sometimes that would be frustrating to me. And the thing that like immediately makes that better is if someone just goes, "Hey, I noticed that you did this. Can I use this?" And I'll be like, "Sure, here's the link. I'll give you the
Go for
overlay."
it.
So like a lot of it for me is just always communicating. And that's what I've always done. Like even recently I did somebody had like a document that they used for their subathon and that I really liked that idea, and I just messaged her and I was like, "Do you mind if I use this idea?" She was like,
Yeah.
"Totally, go for it." And so like that has been my thing, is always just to like over communicate, to always just like ask if I can use something.
Ask,
And
own it. Own it,
yeah,
own everything.
and then
And
people
that goes
feel
back
way more
to everything.
flattered, and
Yeah.
it rather than it
Yeah.
only being comparison, it turns into a collaboration.
Like one thing I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's on my to-do list, it's been there for ages, is I'm in the process of building my media card for socials for like brands and partnerships and things like that. I need to build like a media card. I have got about 5 people that I'm taking inspiration from and looking at their cards and thinking, love that. How do I
Do
make
you want a
it?
good
How do I
idea?
make something? And another thing I've been doing is I really like your idea that's been on your stream for months, and I'm like, I need to do that. How do I do it? Is when the raid comes in and you have that kind of tearaway screen that says,
Yeah, yeah,
"My
you
name
can
is
use that.
Tiz,"
It's fine.
blah blah
I
blah.
just made that on Canva.
No, no, no.
That's it.
But that's an inspiration.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I like that idea because then I can look at
Oh,
that on the
but
screen and be like,
but
oh
I
yeah,
want
I
it
like that as well.
because TwitchCon is coming up. I want to give another really quick idea. This is we have like 4 minutes left too, by the way. So yeah, I know.
Where
So I
does this
wanted
hour go? Stupid time.
what I have. It's actually, so this is not my current background, but I can actually switch it
Is
real
that
quick.
just a black background?
No, it's well, it's in sleep mode, so that's why
Oh,
like
okay.
it's dark. You can kind of see the background. You want to see my
No, I
actual
can't see
background?
anything. Is it me? That'll be weird if it's me.
Yes, I have a photo of you as my background.
I mean, inspiration.
It's
Good
it's
looks.
a solo leveling. You can't really see it.
I can
But
I can kind of make it out a little bit.
so this, oh, it's way too
No.
bright. Let me turn it down. I'll just turn off my sleep mode. That'll turn off the brightness. So you were talking about media kits, right? What I do for TwitchCon, I have a little QR code. So I go to a make a free QR code. So people scan this and it pulls them right to your, I have a card, I made a card page. So it has all
Card.co.
my,
I
yeah,
love.
yeah. So I use card.co
Oh,
and I have all my
that's what I use
links
that.
and it's my like brand page, and then I have my little QR
You
code.
can
So
make a
then,
QR code for that.
yeah, you can just make it for free. So just take your card link and you go to like makeaqrcode.com. It'll give you an
I am
image, and then
literally
you make a
doing that.
background for it. And then because like most of the time if you pass out cards at events like TwitchCon and stuff, you'll lose it. So anyone, if you want to use my
Oh,
idea,
I am.
it's totally fine.
I'm using it. I'm going
Yeah.
after this. I'm going to do it straight away because I've got Cardco. By the way, card.co is CARR, so two R, CARRD.co.
Actually, I think it
It's
might buy
completely free.
.io, isn't it?
No, .co, I think. It's card.co.
I mean, I can't scan my own QR
Is
code, so I don't know.
it's CARRD.co. Yeah, it's CARRD.co. It's
Oh yeah,
completely
you're
free.
right.
It can be used. It's used for whatever. There's loads of different kind of digital professions, or to promote your business. I actually prefer it to Linktree. So if you use Linktree and you like Linktree, check out
So
card.co.
I use Linktree for
I
my
think
links in
it's
my bio, but I use card because I made it so that it's more like my branding, like media kit. So I have like my media kit linked to my card, and I have like
oh,
a
I see.
little like blurb about my community on it. So I use more like card.co as like my
I think
business
card.co
side.
aligns more with what I want to look like at when
Yeah.
people want a one-stop shop for everything shaky. So card.co is really good. I've already recommended it to a couple of people. That's amazing, that QR code, because I was thinking time's getting close and I'm gonna not have anything to give out at TwitchCon, but I don't know how effective business cards are. If they can just scan their
Yeah.
phone, scan my
I
phone,
just have it literally on my background. So I open it up. You can just
I'm
go
gonna I'm gonna do that. That's a top tip.
top tips. We can
I don't know,
finish.
that's a top
We
tip
had
noise.
we had a lot of. I was gonna say we can always finish with random. We usually do gaming
Hang on, hang
tips.
on, hang on, hang on, hang on,
But
hang on. Comparisons. Make sure, just keep it healthy. Be inspired. Don't be intimidated by others. You're on your own path. You're in your own journey. No one is comparing you apart from you, and just enjoy being in your own space and being your own streamer or whatever you. If you're your own person in work, in life, just keep being unique.
Yeah.
You're not on the same path. You're not on the same time frames, and you're the one telling you can't do it when you can.
And I think, as we were saying, I think most of us or most people do struggle with it too. So
Hmm.
we're all just human.
Hmm.
And now you have 5 tips to hopefully help you
Yeah,
do a little bit better at it. And we would
and
love to hear from you
again, if
guys
you
too.
if you have any questions,
That was
obviously
my
give us a shout.
comment below. That was my
There
creepy,
was
like,
comment below.
we'd love to hear from you.
Comment below. Yeah, and I
Let
had
me know if
someone
I'm not the only one that has these weird, crazy thoughts.
someone dropped a question on one
Oh,
of the
yeah.
previous episodes, which I answered the question. It was about how do you stream as a how do you make it work and how do you balance it as a parent when you've got kids? How do you fit the streams in? So
Which we
thank
talked
you to
about
the
that a little bit
person
on
who
a different episode
we
as well.
did we did, and I went back to them and said, look, it's find a night or two that works for you. Set a couple of hours aside. Be consistent. If it doesn't work, switch up the time. Let your partner know that you're streaming during this time, and just start small. Start small. Be consistent and try what works best for you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But yeah, more questions. Please fire more questions at us because then we can talk about these in and make like we'll make a section at the end of these to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
So yeah.
what games have you been playing, Tiz?
Nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing for you.
Yes. Yes.
You got any?
I have been playing a game called SOMA, and it is
Oh
amazing.
yeah, I've heard really good things.
It's horrifying because it's scary.
I've heard it's a little bit
But
creepy.
the story behind it and the lore and everything behind it is one of the best horror games I played because it's so
Interesting.
deep and it makes you kind of question things in
Maybe I'll.
in the general life.
Yeah, one of my mods recommended it to me and played through it a long time ago. So maybe I'll have to dabble one of these
It's
days.
fantastic. It's about 9 or 10 years old, but you wouldn't be able to tell
Yeah.
because it still looks great and it's scary as hell. But it really makes you wonder what would happen in that kind of situation if it was to happen.
Yeah.
Brilliant, really good. SOMA,
Spooky.
SOMA, pretty good. Is that it? Are we out of time?
We're over an hour. So.
Oh my god, that hour just goes
let's see.
so
we
quick.
what do we do at the end here? We say thanks for hanging out
Well,
and listening to us. We drop new episodes every Wednesday. We've still been doing it. We've still been making it work, even though do you know what?
I'm proud of us for that.
Midnight for me, Shakey. I stayed up past
you'll be
midnight
all
for
right.
this.
You'll be all right. What are you going to do in the morning? What are you doing in the morning?
Well, tomorrow's relaxing because the next day I have to fly out early. So
So you've got a lie-in then? Yes. So
No.
we'll have one more episode of this in this kind of sit-down style of this, and then we're thinking a TwitchCon episode.
yeah,
TwitchCon
which I
weekend
don't
episode.
actually think I'm going to bring my computer with me. So worst case, I just bring my mic and I film
Fine.
it, and it'll be just a different layout. We'll just film it on a phone.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're going to be sitting together anyway, so we don't need to like split
But that's what
screens
I'm saying.
or say
That's
who's
what I'm
gonna...
saying. We'll just like put
Yeah.
a camera tripod. Cool.
That's what I'm saying.
Blah, blah, blah.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, but yeah, I'm proud of us for sticking with this, and I'm proud of you for watching all these episodes, and thank you if you have done it because I know people are.
Yep. So web episodes every.
Stay.
Wait, no, we had to say what time. Every Wednesday.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, episodes every Wednesday at 9 o'clock UK time, 10 o'clock CET, 4 o'clock Eastern time. I want to say
I thought it was 2 p.m. MST. Oh, I thought it was
time
3.
MST. No, 2
Anyway.
MST, 5 EST, 9 GMT, BST, BMT, BLT.
Sounds like we're doing a song now.
Hey,
All right.
bacon, lettuce, tomato.
Until next time.
Italian BMT on Italian herbs and cheese, 6-inch today, maybe a foot long another day with some honey mustard sauce on it as well. Toasted extra cheese. Sorry, I thought we were reading out our Subway orders.
You're supposed to.
Stay righteous and royal. Did the R's there. Stay tenacious and tasty. Stay wicked and wild.
We only need one.
The power that comes every time I get 2 words together with the same letter at the start is invigorating.
You really are only supposed to do one, and every time once you get one, you just can't stop. You just keep going. All right,
It's done
your
well.
high five I think is the
I'm
same
like a
way.
Pringles can.
Huzzah!
No, because yeah, okay. I'm just gonna
It's the
trust
same.
you. Am I there? Yeah.
Yep, you're there.
Gotta make it. No, that sounds like okay.
I
That
can't
was
hear
not.
anything on this ending.
There's not the.
It's
That's
okay.
not the. That's
Oh,
not
we're
the.
ending
Oh,
our
okay, thank God.
podcast
Because
now.
on my
I'm gonna
one is
leave. All right.
like that.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.